Welcome to Tech Luminate Academy, the ultimate destination for learning how to build your dream applications and land your dream job. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest tutorials. So up until this point, we have created variables that only contain one value. For example, const with a variable name a equal hello. This variable only contains one value. But what if we wanted to hold multiple values? This is where arrays come in at. So for instance, to declare an array, we would first type out the keyword const or let. In this instance, we are using const because we're not going to reassign this variable a new value. And I'm going to name the array numbers, which will hold numbers ranging from 1 to 10. Hit the equal sign. And then with arrays, you would start off with an opening and closing square bracket. Then you would add your values separated by commas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way until 10. I'm going to log this to the console just so to show you how this array looks. So if you look at the console, we have our array, which if you look over in the console, we have our array with all of our values listed from 1 to 10. But one thing you should notice is the number next to each value. This number represents an index, which is the position each value is located within the array. And with arrays, you start counting at 0. This is important to understand because if we want to access a value, this is important to understand. If you look over in the console, we have our array with all of our values listed from 1 to 10. But one thing you should notice is the number next to each value. This number represents an index, which is the position each value is located within the array. And with arrays, you start counting at 0. This is important to understand because if we want to access a value, we need to know what index position it is located at. So for instance, at position 0, there's a value of 1. At position 1, there's a value of 2. At position 9, there's a value of 10, and so on and so forth. This is really important to remember because it trips up a lot of beginning developers. But what you should remember in arrays is we start counting at index 0 and then go up to index 1 and then index 2, which represents the position that the value is at in the array. So I'm going to demonstrate in the console. So if I wanted to access position 0, or if I wanted to access the 1 value, which is at position 0, I would simply type out the opening and closing square brackets and put position 0 within it. And by me putting position 0, I'm basically saying that I want to access that value, which is located at position of index 0. So if I save, and then here we have 1. If I wanted to access 10, what position this is at. So if we count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So at position 9, I should be able to access the value of 10 at position index 9. There you go. But what if I wanted to add a new item to the array? I can do so by accessing a method on the array, which is a function called push. So if I type out dot, you'll see the IntelliSense list out all the methods, which are just functions that are available on arrays. And in a future video, I am going to get into methods. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the push method, which is available on arrays. Comes built in with JavaScript. In order for us to add a new value to this. Let's remove this first. So in order for us to add a new value, we can just place whatever value we want to add inside this parentheses. In this instance, I'm going to add 11. And if you see, 11 has been added because it'll log it out. It'll return it. So if I log this console.log, just to show you that it's been added to the array. You can see at position 10, 11 has been added. You can also mix and match different types of data in an array, not just numbers. We can add strings, booleans, null, undefined. So I'm going to show you just to demonstrate. Let me remove all of this, leave 1 and 2, and then I'll add a string of hello, and then I'll add null and undefined, and then I'll add a boolean. And then basically what we have is I've added all these different data types. I've also kept this push of 11, pushing that at the end of the array. It adds it as the last item in the array. And then I'm logging it out again. So if I come to the console, I come over here, expand this. You see we have our number 1 at position 0, number 2 at position 1. We got a hello. We got null and undefined, which is both data types. We have true, which is another data type, and we have 11 added at the end. This is usually not something you would do a lot because if you have a list of numbers, you probably may not add a string to it. Another thing you could do with arrays is you can even add arrays within an array. For example, if I wanted to add an array instead of 11, I can say opening and closing square brackets, and then I could add, we're going to add hi and bye. If I go over here and I expand this, you see at the end, we have our array at position 6 added with 2 items of hi and bye. So this is called nested arrays, where you can have an array within an array. So I'm going to demonstrate a little bit more just to show you exactly what I mean, so it could be a little bit more clearer. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove all of this, and then I'm going to add an array, same array, hi and bye. And then I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon. And if you look at the console, you see it says array, and if we expand it, you see we have 2 arrays. But what if we want to access each array and the items within the array? We would use a similar approach that we've used previously when we were trying to access the numbers in the numbers array. So we can put opening and closing square brackets. And then if we want to access, say, the first item, we can put, which is remember, we start counting from an array with arrays. So if we want to access the first item, with arrays, remember, we start counting at 0. So we could put 0 in there. And then if you see, I have hi and bye as the first item. Well, what if I wanted to access the first item within that array? We would use the same similar approach. We access the first item, then we go another opening and closing square bracket, and then we start counting within this array, which is the same approach, 0, 1. This is at index 0, position 0, so we put 0, and then we should be able to log out hi. But what if we wanted to access the second one? We would use the same approach. The second item is this whole second array, at position 1, 0, 1, and then say if we wanted to access the second item within that array, same approach, 0, 1. So we can put 1 in there. We'll log that to the console. And that's pretty much it for now. When it comes to arrays, there's a lot more. When it comes to arrays, as it pertains to array methods that you can access and do a lot of cool stuff when it comes to sorting through arrays, sorting through data. In a future video, I'm going to talk about it. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video.